Bounce it to Hamby, and so now that'll be that. So the Indiana Fever come into here after losing 3 of their last 4.
The Indiana Fever just survived their toughest test of the season, but it nearly slipped away. Up by just 1 point in the closing seconds, the referees handed the LA Sparks multiple extra chances that never should have happened. Caitlin Clark and Sydney Carlson called it out right away, and fans aren't holding back their frustration either. So what made this game so controversial? And how did the Fever manage to push through all the chaos to keep their playoff hopes alive? Let's break down the madness in LA and why this gritty win could end up being a turning point in the season. What's your take on the officiating in the WNBA? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it.
One common theme in the WNBA is how poorly officiated these games can be. The lack of competence from the people wearing the striped suits. Every time I watch a WNBA game, a thought crosses my mind when it comes to the officials, and that thought is, how much money do you have on this game?
Why did the closing seconds of the Fever versus Sparks showdown feel endless? Because in just 3.9 seconds of game time, the referees managed to stretch it into what felt like forever, nearly robbing Indiana of its biggest win of the year. The Fever were hanging onto a 76-75 lead. The crowd at Crypto.com Arena was buzzing, and both teams knew this was about more than a single game. With Indiana holding 6th place and Los Angeles chasing just 2 spots back in the standings, one possession had the power to shift the entire playoff race. In those final moments, every dribble echoed, every whistle carried weight, and somehow, the whistles just wouldn't stop.
Man, I'm talking about right at the end of the game when the nonsense was being called and cheating was being speculated, right? Everybody was looking like how Caitlin Clark was looking by the end of that game last night with the Indiana Fever and the Los Angeles Sparks. Everybody was looking just like this, man. What in the world was going on?
Began with the Sparks searching for one final shot to flip the game. But instead of letting the action play out, the referees kept inserting themselves. The clock was reset in confusing ways. Contact was whistled on one end, but overlooked on the other. Even when Indiana forced turnovers or defended flawlessly, LA somehow kept getting extra inbound chances. The sequences were short, but each stoppage dragged the game out, and the longer it went, the more it felt tilted in one direction. Fans were left asking, just how many lifelines were the Sparks going to get?
So let's take a look at this. All right, now it was 0.6 on the shot clock when this happened, okay? They had the ball, they were running around. I thought the game was over here, honestly. I thought the game was over, but they ended up calling the foul, saying, oh, the game is still going on. All right, whatever. They got the foul. Cool. So Kelsey Mitchell, she goes to the free throw line, right? And she missed both of them. Now, I think Kelsey Mitchell should have made both of them, all right? At least one of them. But she missed both of them, okay?
In that draining final stretch, Aaliyah Boston delivered the defensive stand of the night, ripping the ball away when the Sparks tried to force it inside. The Fever pushed the other way, and Kelsey Mitchell earned a trip to the line. With just 0.4 seconds remaining, her first free throw rimmed out, a miss that should have effectively ended it. But instead of letting the clock run out, the officials awarded Los Angeles yet another inbound with 0.1 seconds still showing. That single decision set off a wave of outrage from Fever fans online. After all, how can any team realistically run a play with less than a blink left on the clock?
But man, there is no way. Right at the end of the game, you should be on top of it. You telling me you're not paying attention to when some hands touch that ball? Come on, man. And then to reward them with the timeout, like, fam, that's crazy work. Look, Caitlin Clark, like, what is going on here? Like, no. Look, Caitlin ready to run the floor, fam. She's like, no. What is this, man? What is this nonsense?
And this wasn't just Fever fans being paranoid. All season long, the WNBA has dealt with messy finishes. From bizarre timing calls to soft fouls in crunch time to endless replay delays that leave everyone confused. Indiana just felt like the latest team caught in a pattern that points to either shaky officiating or something more troubling. Within minutes, social media was flooded with clips of that 0.1 second inbound, with fans blasting the league for embarrassing.
Then they put .1 on the shot. .1 on the shot clock, fam. What are we doing? What are we doing, man? I mean, this is nonsense. How do you even have time to do anything? How do you even have time?
But the Fever refused to fold. No matter how many extra lifelines the Sparks were handed, they couldn't cash in, and Aaliyah Boston made sure of it by locking down the rim. When the final rebound bounced away and the buzzer finally stuck, it felt less like a finish and more like Indiana passing a trial of endurance. Through all the whistles and chaos, it was resilience, not officiating, that ultimately decided the night. And they did it without nearly half their core. Caitlin Clark remained sidelined, still not cleared to return. Sophie Cunningham, one of the team's steadiest scoring threats, was out as well. Sydney Carlson and Ari McDonald, both guards who normally ease Kelsey Mitchell's ball-handling burden, were also unavailable. Even Lexi Hull took the court bruised and battered, sporting 2 black eyes from a nasty collision the game before. On paper, it looked like Indiana was overmatched, with LA set up to deal a crushing blow to the Fever's playoff chase. But basketball doesn't always follow the script, and on this night, Odyssey Sims took the pen. The veteran guard, once a spark herself, torched her old team for 21 points, slicing into the lane at will. And when the Fever needed someone to steady them late, Sims took over completely, scoring the final 5 points to slam the door shut. Her closing run was the dagger, not just against Los Angeles, but against the doubts hanging over this shorthanded roster. In a season full of questions, Sims reminded everyone what poise, toughness, and experience look like when the moment is at its loudest.
Sims left open for 3. She got it. Offensive rebound. Sims the runner. Here's Howard. Shovels Sims right at the doorstep, and she gets it off the window. 3-on-3 the other way. Sims the take and finishes the lefty layup.
Aaliyah Boston once again proved why she's the cornerstone of this franchise. Her impact went far beyond points and rebounds. It was about control. She owned the paint defensively, forcing the Sparks into uncomfortable shots and cleaning the glass even while battling double teams. On offense, whenever Indiana stalled, Boston kept them afloat with bruising post play, hard screens, and second chance opportunities. Without her steady presence, those chaotic final minutes could have unraveled in a very different way. And then there was Lexi Hull, playing through swelling and bruises from her last game. She became the embodiment of Indiana's grit. Hull logged heavy minutes, diving on the floor, hustling back on defense, and keeping the floor spaced even when her own shots weren't falling. The Fever needed bodies, and she gave them everything she had. The perfect example of their next woman up mentality. Kelsey Mitchell wasn't flawless, especially down the stretch, but her relentless scoring pressure forced LA to constantly adjust. Even when her jumper wasn't there, her gravity opened lanes for Boston inside and Sims on the drive. More importantly, she carried the responsibility of being the offensive engine with Clark out, a leadership role that defined Indiana's fight from the opening tip to the final horn.
We have a deep team that a lot of players on our team could be playing and they're not. And that's a tribute to our depth, certainly, but also sometimes everybody wants to play, right? And I think the selfless nature of this group just can't be overstated. And that's why we're able to be in positions like this that we're able to be in.
Stephanie White built her rotations around defense and toughness, and the Fever responded by grinding for every stop, every rebound, every possession. This wasn't just about hanging on. It was proof that Indiana can thrive even when shorthanded. And with reinforcements on the horizon, the thought of what happens when Caitlin Clark rejoins this gritty core suddenly feels even more exciting. But here's the twist. Clark didn't play a single second, Yet she became the story of the night, instead of Indiana's resilience being the headline. The conversation turned to Clark's reaction from a bench. Dressed in street clothes, she didn't hold back, calling out the referees in real time, echoing exactly what frustrated fans were already shouting online. When the league's most visible star publicly shines a light on officiating, it doesn't stay a one-night debate. It turns into a larger storyline, one that the WNBA will have to answer for long after this wild night.
That matters more than the final scoreline. It showed they can handle chaos and still stand firm. So the question is this: is the WNBA being held back by poor officiating? Fans deserve better, and players do too. Because once Caitlin Clark returns, this toughened Fever group might be the team nobody expects, but everyone suddenly has to fear. What do you think of the WNBA refs? Let us know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.